Today is day 6 of the February 93 7-day retreat in Springwater. Right now, 2 questions come to mind. Perennial questions. Does it need effort? To do this attending, to sustain it, to come to insight? And if not, as you, Toni, often seem to imply, how does awareness arise? Or where does insight come from? One of the reasons that the effort question keeps coming up is that it is felt that it's tremendous effort, first of all, to create a free week to come here. And there's a lot of work to do at home. Maybe persuade the family. Maybe get the money together to pay for the trip and the retreat. And then getting here to sit down and stay motionless, be with the pain, the thoughts, all seems to be an enormous effort. The stream of habit in which we live, or which is our life, seems to push us into activity, frenetic or purposeful, into moving around, and not looking inwardly, but outwardly. And not even looking, but going with the whole system of perception or reality that has been built up through thoughts, programmed labels, reactions, belief systems. To move with all of that, that's the momentum for all of us, human beings, for a long, long time, not just since you and I were born. To move with habit, to move with thought and belief system, with reaction, which is mechanical, coming from past experiences, past conditionings, which may have happened a few moments ago, or years ago, or centuries ago, conveyed and transmitted through our parents and peers and teachers. A conditioned, habitual, mechanical way of living, with a tremendous energy to it, a momentum to keep going, to continue in that way, like a big, enormous stream with a deep current. And to just for a moment wake up in this stream and say, wait a minute, what's going on? What's happening? Let me look, let me see. Appears to require energy. Is that so? energy not to be swept with a current. This is how it feels. Not necessarily in the beginning. I'll talk about the beginning in a moment. But as one feels this needs to be kept up and sustained, this stop, let me look and listen. Let me quiet down. A real felt yearning for slowing down, to understand, to be in touch, which otherwise just zooms by, or oneself is the zoom. And then to try to sustain some kind of attention is felt like a tremendous effort. And particularly since most of us join in this desire for more clarity, deeper understanding, enlightenment. In that desire we join meditation centers, traditional practice centers, where effort is almost universally stressed, that you have to make tremendous superhuman effort to fight against this current of habit, of desire, of fear. And we're given practices, usually for concentrating the mind, which has been habitually so scattered, concentrated, that it can become one-pointed. Fight the distractions with the one-pointed, concentrated mind or practice. Cut off the thoughts, cut off the imagery, the habits. And that is felt as immense effort. Sweat may be pouring all over one in this attempt to control thoughts, to stay on the beam. And with this effort, as with any effort that is maintained, we learn something. The mind does indeed learn to concentrate, to be less scattered. And the concentration brings often palpable results, heat, body warmth, all kinds of sometimes psychic abilities. Whatever. To stay on the topic of the practice, not to veer away so often. But many of us, not everyone, maybe not everyone is aware or conscious of it or remembers it, have maybe come to this whole questioning and wondering what's happening by something occurring in our daily life without any practice, without any effort. A moment of here-ness, now-ness, there-ness, where things are just seen and felt the way they are, and no one standing apart from it, judging it. Maybe I've related it in the past, how after we adopted a little baby, it was in 1958, and sitting in the baby's room, trying to burp this baby, which from the beginning had a mind of his own. It didn't burp, he didn't burp. Sitting there, patiently, mechanically, sort of what I had read in Dr. Spock and see other people do. You pat this baby on the back, have him on your shoulder. This was all done according to instruction. Baby didn't burp. And suddenly, out of nowhere, no intention, no thought given to anything except trying to get this baby to burp, there was a shift in the whole thing. And the shift, the best I can describe it, was that this baby was not separate from me. It was a completely new relationship. Not just me and the baby, but maybe the word relationship isn't even a good one, because the relationship is always from me to you, from me to the world. But it wasn't like that. Everything was just there, effortlessly, openly, freely, without judgment. And an immense joy. A lightness, a happiness. Which I waited till Kyle came home to tell him this. And I couldn't quite explain it. Because whatever you say, it doesn't explain. It can't describe. A state of no problem, no conflict, no effort, and joy. That receded. I may have even sort of forgotten about it, in a way. Because eventually I felt quite depressed and out of touch. I can't remember all of this, but in joining a Zen center, there was a real desire for the enlightenment experience that had been written up in there in several very vivid stories. And of course, joining that particular tradition, and a particular teacher, tremendous urge to strive, to make effort, to do your best, to do better, to work hard, to work harder, not having worked hard enough, and so forth. And actually working hard, going with that stream. See, there's a little new stream developing of habit. Trying to get out of the big stream, we join the little stream of becoming mechanical and pushing, trying to attain, which is it's the same water as the big stream. Only thinks it's different. But there was always a yearning to just look at things as they are and not work out of push and effort and strain and stress. Actually, the falseness of that, or the unnecessariness and dangerousness of it, became quite evident in the course of training in this way. And wondering if it wasn't possible to do this, sitting down and listening and attending to what's there, inside, outside, where that could happen in an atmosphere of openness and light and freedom. Not a dark place with shutters drawn and prohibition to go outside so as not to be distracted. To be in touch with the beauty of nature, be able to see it and let the sunlight stream through the windows not be forced or required to do anything except being quiet, silent, so that each one of us can again and again freshly touch what? Find out. I can't describe it. Being here. Seeing what's there. And don't take the seeing too literal. You can say listening to what's there. Then don't take the listening too literal. The senses are not separate. We think they are because we think them separately. But the senses can operate undividedly. And the quietness is not even a sense. The silence, the stillness, which makes everything possible, the sound of the bird and the beating of the heart, the breathing, the being together, eating and eliminating. And yet there is a continuous demand not by everyone, but by many people too, for discipline, for more structure. Although it's less and less, if I think over the years, it is less and less. Because maybe we're beginning to appreciate what's possible without imposition by others, by authorities, by teachers, by traditions. Even though if one comes from a tradition and from a practice, as many of us do or did, it seems dizzying or giddying not to have anything to lean on. No one to tell one what to do. No one to check up on one's progress. No practice to concentrate on. Then all of a sudden, if one experiments with letting go of these structures, disciplines, practices, authoritative teacher, it seems so chaotic. A mind all over the place. And that seems wrong. The mind being all over the place, which it is anyways most of the time. Now, at this moment of contrast to the orderliness of the sustained, concentrated practice, it seems wrong. I must be doing something wrong, people say, because my mind is all over the place. No ending of thoughts, images, reactions, mechanicalness, judgments. That's brought up almost most of the time, that a perception seems to be inextricably linked with judgment. Judgment of the other person, judgment of what is felt inside, judgment of myself. Judging. Seems to be impossible to perceive anything without judgment. Maybe the label first. It usually comes first because that's the order in which we've learned it. This is this, and isn't this nice? Or this is bad. We're told as little babies. Bad boy, bad girl. And told what everything is. And with the demanding almost of a reaction, of a judgment of the child. Do you like this? Are you happy? Aren't we having fun? Ralph used to hate Captain Kangaroo. because Captain Kangaroo couldn't do a thing. He did nice things, and Mr. Green Jeans, maybe some of you remember Mr. Green Jeans and Captain Kangaroo. But then in the midst of doing something, he said, "Aren't we having fun?" He would switch over to Rocket Ship 7 with a captain there, a little bit more adult, not making the kids feel like, well, whatever, I'm going to Captain Kangaroo. So, it was just brought up last night in a group meeting. A person saying, I find that as I'm here with people, and have been in other groups, also in this retreat, there is a silent judgment going on all the time. She found this was a good word, a silent judgment, because it may not even be quite conscious. That people, as they say things or haven't even said things yet, the way they look, their body language, are already categorized and judged. And, of course, oneself. Good at it, bad at it, down on oneself, up on oneself. This question, is it possible to perceive without judgment? Or is there such a close link that it has become impossible? Because once in our life, I'm sure the baby looking around and touching and chewing and kicking and crawling toward things and picking things up and dropping them isn't judging. It's just alive with the world of things around it, including its little toes. Probably doesn't even judge, these are mine. It's just chewing on them in an incredible flexibility. But then we learned, the adults helped in it, to label, to judge, to like, to dislike. And by being criticized, punished, scolded, we learn to judge ourselves. Don't need anybody around us anymore. It's taped inside. And the tape runs incessantly. What we are, what we should be, what we're not, what we shouldn't be. Can one become aware of all of that? Of course we do, in silent sitting. Maybe even in walking, in silent walking. Although one can find, if one really looks closely, that the inner world of thought and judgment and memory and desire and so forth reveals itself best in quiet, motionless sitting. When we're walking, there's so much to be seen and looked at. Of course, the tapes may keep running, but not with the same clarity as when we sit quietly, motionlessly. It doesn't have to be for a long time. We have also an ongoing debate how long the sittings should be. Some people want it longer, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes. We've stayed with the 25 minutes. Keeping untrained people in mind and older people who have not gone through this mill of learning how to sit with excruciating pain and eventually be able to sit for 40 minutes or 50. Most people had to go through something to come to that. And that is felt to not be necessary or possibly injurious. So if you feel a need to sit longer for the mind to begin slowing down, then find another place or sit through the breaks, through the walking as some people do. So what is one to do with this world of inner tapes and programs that reveal themselves in silent sitting? One judges it. Being bad should be a state that one has read about, heard about, of no thought, of quietness, of empty space. Vast emptiness one has read. So what is revealed, the thoughts, is immediately judged rather than just let come and go and take a glance at it. See it at a glance. It's about me. It's about me being good or bad. It's about others being good or bad. Learn from this revealing itself what occupies most of the time this human mind and body. But what usually happens, something is seen and immediately condemned or grasped and held on to. And what goes by the wayside is that instant of becoming aware in the first place, a moment of attention. The preciousness of it, of waking up from the automatic stream of thinking and reacting to the fact that this is taking place. That can only happen with a moment of attention. Unless one just repeats what somebody else says about my mind, that happens too. Then there is no attention, and it's just repeating what someone else says about me. But it's almost impossible for anyone to sit quietly and there not being moments of attention, when it's even possible when we're not sitting quietly, when it was possible in our very early years to look and listen openly, non-conceptually, non-judgmentally, non-separately. So then, of course, the question comes up, well, how can this attention be cultivated? Strengthened, sustained, or brought back. It's gone. I had it 2 retreats ago, it's gone. It may not even be true, because the overriding of our judgmental thoughts is immense. Overriding what may subtly happen and be there, and just listening to the habitual complaining about oneself, about the others, about the system, about the work. First of all, in coming to a retreat, sitting quietly for periods at a time, and observing thoughts, watching them, watching judgments, being aware every once in a while, the mind does slow down. It does. Something may happen that they will get a phone call, or maybe one gets a note that one has messed something up in the kitchen or housekeeping, and one doesn't like the way the note sounds, and all hell breaks loose inside. Upset, angry, or guilty, feeling bad about oneself. But that's lots of food for watching the next round. It's all there to be looked at, to be listened to be felt. And in that looking again at the upset, the accusations, self-accusations, other accusations, in taking it all in, listening to it, being aware of it every once in a while, the mind slows down again. And as one person told me, the mind not only slowed down, but judgment stopped, ceased, wasn't there anymore. And the thought that came up was, why doesn't Toni talk about that? That in slowing down, judgment can stop. On its own. There was no intention to stop it, although one has probably wanted to stop that darn tape for 20 years or so. But it doesn't stop because one wants to stop, it just stops. Meaning, everything is the way it is. The world looks different, even though it's the same world, when we don't judge it. Don't label it, don't know it, don't want it to be different or to want to keep it, including ourselves. Just allowing whatever is going on to happen without judging it. Being with people in a group discussion, hearing what they're saying, seeing, it's evident some people are more dominating than others, more accusatory. This is not judgmental. It's just what is. Judging means I don't like that, I wish he was different, I wish I could say more, they would listen to me. That's judgmental. But to hear what's going on can be very clear, discerning, intelligent, without needing to be judged, right or wrong. So as the question arises again, how do I get to that? That question prevents it from happening. Because the problem-solving mind is churning, searching the files, looking for new solutions to stop judgment. But it happens on its own. When the mind slows down in quiet sitting, quiet living, remains to be seen whether it can remain non-judgmental part, at least part of our busy, hectic daily life. Or will that other circuit take over, that other stream, which has, for as long as we live, or as soon as we started judging, developed a network of neural and physical connections and bodily connections everywhere. Seeing, labeling, judging. It's a network which is there. But it's not the same as attention now. That doesn't need that network, and it doesn't feed into that network, albeit it sheds light on that network without becoming part of it. It's just caw, caw, caw. Breathing, moving, sound of cushions, clothes, limbs, maybe a pain in the knee or back. That's all here. It doesn't need to be judged. It's what it is. What is it? I don't know what it is. In that freedom of being here now, there's no need for this intricate network of bringing me in relationship with that in a judgmental way. I like it, I hate it. So coming back to the question, can this be nurtured, cultivated? Because it's such a good, true way of being. So natural, as that person said. It's so natural to just be and not judge. Can we cultivate that? Sustain it? I'll have to see. I've mentioned a few times, maybe to some people, that I feel from own experience, that the body changes with all the retreating in my life that goes on. Of course, not much quiet sitting, but talking with people. One needs to be there. One needs to be there to listen, to feel out what is he saying or what is she talking about. And when the next person comes in, just to be there. This other thing is finished. Here's someone else. And with this going on, there seems to be new pathways evolving in this body for attention, short-circuiting this other network, which is there, any time to be triggered. But it doesn't need to be triggered when the attention is here, now, with energy. Attention is energy. There's no difference between them. That's why I say so much to people here, talk with each other, question together, have group meetings, listen to each other, to each other's problems, maybe just one-on-one or in a group, so that the mind needs to listen, needs to be attentive, not as a method, but it's good to talk with each other. We're human beings, very sociable. We like to be in each other's presence. Or we have tremendous conflict with each other. Can we get together and open it up? And look, not just, see, there is meeting and meeting. The stream can flow very superficially, where the mind is not used in this attentive way. When I tell you about all what happened to me, my experiences and in my life, and you tell me what happened to you and he and she, and we feel a great togetherness and comradeship, friendship. But the mind hasn't quite been used to gather energy and look at what we're doing right now. And I'm not saying this is indicated all the time. The other is also there for not always going into the depth, but to talk lightly, conversationally, maybe humorously, laughing together, relating funny stories or making fun. That's part of being together. Not always immediately plumbing the depth. That can become a real bore. Somebody always wants to plumb the depth. And yet, maybe if one lives together, to set aside time for it. Because if we don't, it doesn't happen. We seem to really avoid it. It seems to be a resistance against that. A hump develops that needs to be overcome. A hump of I don't know what. It needn't be there because it's tremendous fun and joy to talk together, starting from the surface and sort of sinking deeper by sheer gravity. Because we all live in tremendous confusion and pain. And this confusion and pain beckons to be lit up. I didn't say resolved right away. Leave the resolution to itself, to happen on its own, but to light it up, to look at it, to wonder about it, to bring it to the surface. How we live, how we confuse ourselves and each other, how we deceive ourselves and each other by imagining that our thought and belief systems represent reality, and not realizing that we believe that. It's true, we think. So to begin to puncture that, to make, like little punctures, and the light comes through. Then the mind is at work. And one can notice, is the network of me first at work? One can see that. And then it can abate, because it's a dead end. What that can be seen. When it has been observed for a long time, its dead-endedness or circularity can become very obvious. And that has nothing to do with attending, listening to what's there. So can we, at any one moment, begin to listen to ourselves and each other anew? Not from the mechanical stream, but from listening now, without knowing, wondering, alone and together. Not trying to find something, but listening to what's there. We will end here for today.